infection, man. All better though.
Just a little ear infection, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
just this is that one day, the difference one day can make, you know?
Yeah, well, it's getting better. Getting
Yeah,
better.
good. We're on.
Hey, we're back. Welcome to Critters in Taiwan, a D&D podcast about Critical Role, where a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Ben and Gaosheng,
I'm Tim and Taiwan.
and we are a couple of critters in Taiwan coming to
right.
you on the series of tubes that is the internets.
Yeah, because last week, I don't know if you checked out the live or not. You might
I
notice.
certainly didn't.
I went onto Twitch and checked it out. The intro sound you came in, nice intro, and then and in the beginning we were miming that we were having a conversation, but I think we did that bit a bit too long, so we did that for about an hour, and then we played the outro again.
Yeah.
Mostly because we were having issues here.
Technical difficulties. We did put out an episode last week for episode what was it called? Number 29, campaign 3, number 29, Dark Portents.
Portents, right?
Technical difficulties and whatever happened.
You know when they change something but they don't tell you? It's lovely. Everybody loves it. But we're fine now. We've done ourselves a little test and we're ready to go.
So we might talk about a couple of things that happened last week on episode number 29, but mostly we're going to be talking about episode 30, Reunion and Revelation.
Reunion and Revelation.
Yeah, some R&R.
Seems like they got some kind of a theme going with their names these days.
They're very much on the nose. So a little housekeeping. We'll be spoiling a bunch of stuff. So if you're not caught up to date, here's your chance to leave. We're going to be talking about campaign 3 of Critical Role.
Yeah. And other things.
And other things.
All spoilers, of course. Yeah.
Spoilers about everything. So for those that don't know, Tim came down to Kaohsiung this past weekend. And we sat around and Friday night, we watched the newest episode. Had a couple of nice pizzas from a local pizza joint.
Keep it up. I'm going to get my dice.
Yeah, go. Yeah. Then Tim came down on Friday. We watched the newest episode number 30, had a couple of pizzas. Saturday, we went out to a couple of local pubs and had a couple of wobbly pops. Then Sunday, we actually played Dungeons and Dragons, which is probably why he can't find his dice, because he brought those pretty dice down to Kaohsiung with him.
And I knew I was going to forget them.
And we played some D&D on Sunday.
Yeah. A short little one shot of maybe more, perhaps. It seems like it might be a continuation.
We might turn it into a 2 or 3 shot. We'll see. We have some ideas. But yeah, it was nice to play.
Yeah. Always nice to roll some dice. It's that rush of rolling dice. That's the word I'm looking for.
It definitely is. So should we just get right into this and start talking about episode number 30?
Yeah, I suppose so. You know how we do this stuff about like episode 29. I mean,
well, the problem that I got is that I got a lot of my questions that I had or stuff that happened in 29 answered in 30.
Yeah, that's usually what happens with these notes. Like if you go back through and be like, well, what is this? Oh, is he a werewolf? You're like, oh yeah, he is. Okay.
It's been a lot of lore dumps these past few episodes. So even more so today, last week, Friday, whatever. Is it Tuesday?
I don't know if I'd say more so.
Well, we got a different
29
version.
was just lore, like the whole fucking time.
And then we got a couple of different versions of that lore. We got Ollie threw in a new version of what happened with Fern, from what Birdie told Fern.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, yeah, let's go ahead and get a rolly then in.
Sure. Yeah, I got some dice. I like rollies.
This thing never steers me wrong. That's a 7.
Oh, I got a 19. Okay, I'm gonna throw out a giant, big, broad one. I'm gonna mostly talk about episode number 30 today, because a lot of the stuff that happened in 29 has been resolved, except for the stuff with Erica and you, Dusk / you. which we can talk about if you want to. But I want to talk about, so the episode 30, the majority, couple at least to the first 2 hours of this episode were all combat with that big ruin crawler, which
Yep.
is kind of what I want to talk about. It was a mess. The combat, that combat was really, really messy, and they missed a lot of rules. They missed a lot of calls. They fudged a bunch of. They didn't fudge a bunch. They there was some retconning. There was some, there was this was happening and that's happening, and then they forgot about a couple of things and went back. It was chaotic, and I kind of liked it a lot. I felt like the as you know, I watch these things. I watch a lot of chat when I watched on my second go, and it was fun watching the conflict on chat between well, they forgot this and they forgot that, they didn't do that, and then other people screaming rule of cool and don't worry about it, they're having fun and they don't care and we're just watching, and then other people like rule lawyering, and then other people just enjoying it, and a bunch of then other people going, why do we care what they're doing? This is a pre-recorded thing. It's not live, so you people are screaming at something that's not live right now, and it always entertains me when those things, all those factions are smashing at each other.
It's the same conversation every week. I mean,
Every week. Yeah.
the same shouting match, just like, like, dude, just chill out. That's why I never look at it. I just enjoy the
I
show.
know, but I think the chaos of the whole entire thing was set off with, and this is my point, with Laura Imogen picking up that backpack, putting it on the front of the ruin crawler as a tribute. I mean, the backpack was a bomb, and then 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, lightning bolts through the gun, vaporizing people, and it just felt to me, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, it felt like this was Laura being Laura, not Laura being Imogen.
I agree. Yeah. I mean,
it really felt vengeful, and it didn't feel that was Imogen. There was one moment when she, like, as I was watching it, I'm sitting there going, why is she trying to kill them all? Like, she sends the lightning bolt through the gun and vaporizes a dude,
yeah.
like just disintegrates him instantly, and sort of laughs about it. And I'm like, this is not in character. This is very much somebody who is just. This is dumb because it sounds toxic. It's not. It's just the way I think about it. It felt like somebody just playing D&D and knowing that, oh no, it's just imaginary and doesn't really matter. The problem is that we know that Critical Role has evolved into, they're not just playing D&D anymore. This has become very much a lifestyle for them. It's very they become the characters when they sit down at the table. And these couple of moments that Laura was doing more just felt like murder hobo-ish, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. There's a couple of other little things that I want to kind of say about it, which was, at first I felt like she was metagaming again. By shooting, lightning bolting the gun, and knowing that would, all of those black powder caps were there, and knowing that lightning bolt would ignite all of those little black powder caps, and that would blow up everything. But then I sort of realized that Imogen might just actually be going, no, I'm just trying to blow up the gun so it doesn't hurt my friends.
Right.
And then I kind of squared that one there with myself, and be like, okay, because she even laughs about it. She even says, oh no, I thought it would just blow up the gun. I didn't realize it would shoot everybody. And I'm like, okay, well, sure, that makes sense. Like, you're just gonna, blow up the gun and have some fun with it. But it just felt like she set the stage for a lot of chaos to happen, and a little out of character, I feel.
She made her decisions. I suppose I could yes and on that. Fairly similar, as it turns out. We usually have fairly similar points as well. When she brought the bag out, I was like, ooh, that's clever. You
Hmm.
know, like putting the bomb down there and then just like setting it off. I'm like, all right, it's a bold move.
Hmm.
Didn't really feel like Imogen, but
Yeah.
she's not dumb, you know. So maybe
Yeah.
she's like, I'm gonna make a decision and just hope that people, you know,
Well,
go along with it.
I think Imogen's intelligence is quite low.
Well,
I
she's not.
believe.
It's not below 10, right?
I think it might be.
Really, with all of her
Yeah.
magic?
Yeah. But she was a charisma sorcerer.
Huh.
The sorcerer is a aberrant mind sorcerer, which is charisma based. I
No, I guess
think
it
I
just
think
assumed.
in, I think intelligence is a dump stat for her. I believe. Honestly, I think Chetney and Orm are the smartest in the party.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, then that, yeah, kind of changes a little bit then. I thought it was a nice little clever move, you know, put it
Hmm.
down there, but a little rash, but
Yeah.
that's not out of character. However, the bolt, like we talked about on the couch down there right behind you over there, it felt
Hmm.
like another lower moment where she's trying to get away with something, you know? And the
Hmm.
way
Hmm.
that she's like, oh, I'm going to do this lightning bolt right up through here. And he's like,
That's
okay.
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And then, you know, he's like, okay. And then she says, and it's supposed to ignite anything like black powder in its way. It's like,
Yeah.
get him to say yes first
Hmm.
and then tell him what you're trying to do, you know, like
Right.
she's done in the
Right.
past. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I give her a
Because
cupcake. And you're like, that was after he bites it, that was sprinkled with it. It's like,
mhm.
Laura, like, you know, you're pushing it,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
like,
It's that fine line where the DM is supposed to know everything.
yeah,
You're not really supposed to pull one over on the DM. You're just not because the DM is the world,
yeah.
and
You should
that's
work
where the
with them
trust
instead of
issue.
try to beat them, you know?
Right, that's where the trust issue comes in, where the DM trusts the players and the players trust the DM to do the right thing, as opposed to being adversarial.
Yeah. Instead of trying to trick them, you know, like just don't do
Yeah,
that. You know, it's not very respectful. You know.
it isn't, but yeah, it's fine
Um,
lines, fine lines.
with that, I suppose is kind of similar. If I can just tack on, like what you said that there what kind of like mistakes or whatever did they have in that? Because I didn't seem
Oh,
to notice it
there was a
much.
bunch. Well,
Just like
like
forgetting to roll and like
okay, I wrote down a couple of them.
yeah.
The
I thought there might have been a range one at one point, and then like a saving throw at one point or something. You know, I wasn't
yeah.
really.
Well, the Orem jumped up on the crawler, the ruin crawler, and then tried to action surge, and that didn't work because they didn't have. He had used his action surge against in the dusk fight or the U fight, whatever, in episode 29,
Uh,
which is a there is a problem there because fighters recharge their action surge on a short rest or long rest. They would have had plenty of time to recharge. He would have had plenty of time to recharge it because the fight was hours earlier.
yeah.
He could have rested and recharged it, so he didn't do that. Small little detail, but he could have, but he didn't.
Yeah,
Um,
you can easily retcon that.
Easily. The big one of the big ones was Matt dropping down that vitriolic sphere. That really scared them. I think because it
Oh,
took
yeah.
took FCG down, it took Imogen down. They were unconscious, and Birdie took full damage, which means that she takes damage next round. She drives into the crawler, smashes into the crawler. No, drives her own crawler forward. Then she casts Charm Person on the spellcaster that casts the Vitriolic Spear, and at the end of her turn, she's supposed to take damage, but Matt didn't do that. Then a bunch more turns go, and then somebody brings up, oh yeah, by the way, Birdie took full damage, and Matt's like, oh yeah, right. Okay, so then at the end of Birdie's next turn, she takes full damage, or she takes damage again from the vitriolic sphere and goes unconscious and smashes into the ruin crawler and the blown call on FCG's temporary hit points where he absorbs hit points with the sympathetic binding, and then he
Hmm.
gets his temporary hit points, which is not right. He actually uses those as he gets them they get charged against him if he doesn't use them by the end of his turn,
Hmm.
as whatever. That was another blown call. There's just a bunch of different little things that they missed, which is fine. Like I said, I liked it, but there just was a few little things. Listen, I got to say that Imogen, or sorry, Laudna's Hellish Rebuke was one of the coolest Hellish Rebukes I've ever seen, where she took the smoke from the gun and rebuked it into into the gunner's eyes. Like
That was sick.
that was really cool. I love that shit.
I think Matthew really appreciated that.
Yep.
I think Liam really does too, and since he was like the only one that really described his shit in like campaign 2, and now they're all kind of doing it a lot more here. I like it.
You know, a thought just occurred to me.
Lazy girl.
As I'm, oh, there she is. As I'm sitting here,
she's not on the screen.
Oh, that's fine. As I'm just sort of sitting here, I just suddenly got a little weird little not premonition, a weird little thing that just popped into my head with all of this stuff with Imogen. Like I was just reading what I wrote. Imogen's lightning bolt. You know, she's doing this and that. I just got, as I was getting a vision of Imogen standing in front of this rune crawler and blasting her lightning bolt up at the thing. Did you ever watch the Scarlet Witch, the Marvel? What was it called? Was it called Scarlet Witch? I don't. WandaVision. It was called WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Yeah, but Wanda Maximoff. One of the twins. So in the Marvel universe, Scarlet Witch is one of the more powerful superheroes, mutants, whatever you want to call them. And I suddenly realized, I'm like, because she goes a little bit crazy and super vengeful and wants to like kill everybody. I wonder if Laura is sort of doing when I need to use my sorcerer powers, I'm going to destroy everybody. Because that's sort of, and maybe she's taking some inspiration from that character, from Wanda Maximoff from the Scarlet Witch, from that show. I don't know. It just suddenly occurred to me. I'm like, because if that's the case, then I fully applaud everything she does. Then it's not being a vengeful, because maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me.
That was just like a little brain fart that just sort of happened there. I was like, maybe.
I'll have to search up that character, see what.
Yeah, Marvel stuff. So it's you can't watch everything. Yeah, there. Hey, rollies.
Roll? Sure. Let's do it.
9.
Ooh, that's a net 20, motherfucker.
There you go. All you.
All me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and just take a look at these notes, all those muted notes from last week.
Sure.
From the top to the bottom. The first one I had was 6 or 90. That was covered in this one.
Yeah.
This
still
one,
not covered very well, though, to be honest.
Still not. We got an insight on it, right?
Oh, man. I got a lot of problems with that one. Like, the math, none of the math works.
Yeah, they have the 14, and then, like, if she was 6 when they left, so she should be, they're like, you look old for 14, like, but they met 11, 12 years ago. Yeah. How could they have a kid before then, unless she's adopted? Yeah. In which case, she's not Rhoda's born, then...
The only thing I can think of is that the time, because the time in the Fey realm doesn't work the same as the time on the Prime material.
Sure.
The only thing I can think of is that there's a fraction associated with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like instead of a linear...
Instead of like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, it's like 1.5 to 1 or 0.75 to 1 or some
it's
weird...
still linear, but yeah.
Whatever. It's just some like weird fraction thing. But then... I squared that in my brain with going, he has no fucking clue.
No.
Bertie and Ollie don't know. Matt does. 100%. Matt knows exactly what it is. And he's like, yeah, I'm just Ringo Starr over here, and I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, they're both, when she's like, I'm 112 years old. He's like, that's so cute.
That's so cute.
And they just left it there. It's like, there's some stuff there with Maury, the Morrigan, where it's like the Ira. He said something along the lines of like, if you're gonna have her and she's old, she might want to stretch out that time or something. That's why it's 90 for her and 6 for them.
Yep.
Sure. So they kind of got directly addressed, but not finished. I suppose. It's still a little bit up in the air, but I think we all kind of know the answer now. But I guess we'll find out later.
I think that they know, and that Bertie and Ollie have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
I think that's all.
So like we I think have all the information we need as viewers, but we'll just see if that's exactly what we think. So there was that one. When Laudna was talking to Eugenia Doubtfire last episode,
Hmm.
I had here like she sounds just like you. Like when she was talking about how she sounds versus how
Right.
Briarwood sounds in her head.
Yep.
But just like we understand, and I thought that was really
Hmm.
brilliant. And I think Matthew was like, "Ooh,
Gas.
nice, like
Yes.
manipulative. Yeah, sure, got it."
Gaslighting, all the lying, all the manipulation. Yeah, 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 yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I'm gonna skip that one because it's not really important. This one here, with all the information coming out, I was getting a little bit worried they might turn into Metal Gear Solid, where they just add stuff to try to make things make sense in the end. So like, and then we're gonna double cross this person, then double cross this person, and then go
Yep,
back
yep, yep,
again,
yep,
and then a
yep.
quadruple agent, and then a quintuple agent. It's like, dude, like you've lost me now. I don't like the game anymore. And like, I hope they don't do that with this. I trust Matt. I think he's got plans. So that's a worry of mine.
Mhm.
And then with you, Sophia, that's her name, right? Sophia?
Safayed.
Sophia. Okay. Put that D on there. I still don't know who she's ultimately deceiving. After how
Well,
the
I think that
last
was,
episode went, it's like when
yeah,
when we had that first taste, when they were like, "Oh, and I found the Callaways, and
yeah,
we will
yep,
end their bloodline." She
yep,
might be lying to those motherfuckers, whoever the fuck they are,
yeah. Oh
because
no,
of
I
how
think
last episode went. I don't
100%.
know who she's lying to anymore, and I'm
I
interested to find out.
Yeah, I think that's intentional. I think that's some really cleverness on Erica's part by
Me
being
too.
like, no, this character is definitely not so much playing both sides, but hedging some bets.
She's a lot more independent than, like she's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really working for anybody.
and
She's just lying
and
to everybody.
it feels like that's the chaotic nature of the Feywild, whether regardless of whether they're not it's not black and white in the Feywild. It's a
Right.
lot of shades of gray, a lot of jumping around. I mean, she's an assassin for the Unseelie court, but that doesn't mean that she can't, bounce around a little bit and be like, I'm going to do things that work for me.
Yeah.
And I can play some games here and do some fun things.
Imagine the
Definitely.
politics in the
Definitely.
Feywild, you know? Like if everybody's just kind of a trickster by nature, and then you try to have some structure,
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
and like a,
uh-huh.
like a hierarchy of some sort, and we're like, yeah, there's gonna be so many problems with authority, just like going behind people's backs all the time. I mean,
Hmm.
it's kind of
Um,
it's kind of fun.
Absolutely. I'm gonna I mean, we didn't get that this episode 29 out. If you don't mind, if I take my SN for
Take it.
this.
That's the last of my notes there. Skipped a couple
The
things, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. I
some things
want to
got
just I want to
resolved.
reiterate the one fun thing that I thought would be really fun is that when we were talking about the Gray Assassins coming after Keyleth, or maybe they weren't coming after Keyleth. They might not have been. They might have been going after something else. They might have been going after Orem's partner or Orem himself. It's hard to know. They were going after the Loomis twins. They were going after a bunch of others, right?
Yeah,
We
like
don't
Rude is born, we
Brutus,
presumed.
right? That's sort of what we're thinking. And with the Gray Assassins seem to be sort of like going after um, these people that are pursuing where the apogee solstices, when the ley lines come to nexus points and things like this. If you remember, I said this last week, that I feel like, wouldn't it be amazing if Serret Agrupnan, when he escapes out of Avalon, this is the XU Calamity we're talking about, he escapes out of the city before it gets destroyed, flies back to wherever, reunites with his kids and family, and sets up this group of assassins
Oh, right, yeah.
to take out anyone who tries to do this again, tries to create something like Laren tried to create, where they would take advantage of the apogee solstices and create these magical devices. And his legacy is the Gray Assassins. How fun would that be?
Pretty
Because
sick.
it would be amazing, right? Because the whole idea being that he witnessed these mages, the hubris of the mages, creating these devices that basically released a god or released gods and created the calamity,
Hmm.
or were a spark that created the calamity. And he's like, never again, never again. And so his legacy of the Gray Assassin, I think it's such a, I don't know, I think it's a really cool idea, and I'd like to see it be true.
Yeah. If it's not a nice theory, it could be good fanfic, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, it makes
Sure.
sense. And how it would go, it starts from a nice place and then it, kind of turns into evil in this sense. But, that meme, it's like, are we the baddies? Like,
Yeah.
who's
Wait,
the
are
bad
we,
ones here?
are we
Like,
the bad guys? Who are the bad guys here? Wait,
yeah,
hang on. Like I always say, if you have to ask, you are.
right. And like, we don't know anything about these two gods, that are trapped in the
Potentially.
moon or whatever, like maybe they were, maybe, I don't know, like maybe they're good. Who knows? And like they were trapped by some, so,
A
who knows?
lot of speculation, a lot of people leaning towards it being Tharizdun, the Chained Oblivion. But it doesn't it doesn't really make a lot of sense that it
Doesn't
would
ring
be.
with me real well.
No, it's he's a betrayer god, right? And he has been imprisoned. Is sort of it's hard to know,
Well, he's
right?
the
Like
Chained Oblivion, right? Is that why he got his name? 'Cause
everybody's sort of screaming on the internet for Matt to show some chains and be like, is he going to show chains? Is he going to show chains? Is that what's going to happen? But I don't think so. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's Tharizdun has been imprisoned in the moon, but man, feels like it's a little bit too on the nose.
yeah,
They,
and a little repetitive.
yeah, well, that people like that because it would neatly wrap things up, right?
Yeah,
It would be like they talked about him in campaign 1. He was mentioned a lot in campaign 2 with Oban and
Bon and Yasha's
that
quest.
whole right. That whole thing was Tharizdun was a lot of iconography there. I don't know. I feel like when they mentioned those sacred texts that were stolen out of Vasselheim, it was two forgotten gods. People talk about that maybe being the Raven Queen, the god that the Raven Queen removed from
Replaced or whatever.
existence.
Yeah.
That maybe being one of them, and the other being Tharizdun. I don't know. I think it's going to be a much simpler than that. I think it's just going to be two gods that we never heard of, and there's a reason why we never heard of them because they were erased.
Yeah. And also, I'm not so convinced that it's going to be a betrayer god,
Yeah. Like maybe. There's a reason why there's been another divine gate placed around the moon, like our divine fence, a divine gate cage,
Right.
a divine cage, not a gate.
There we go. Yeah. It looks like a cage. Sure. It looks like manners from campaign 1.
Campaign 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do another rollies?
Sure.
I like the one dice.
All right. Now I'm on to my episode 30 notes. Ooh, 19, motherfucker.
I just rolled a nat 20,
Oh, for
motherfucker.
fuck's sake.
That's awesome.
Rolling.
I love beating a night.
The one
okay.
difference. God damn it. We got to come up with some way how that's extra word, You roll a 1, something should happen. You got to, I don't know, stand on your head or something.
There's a moment in this combat for episode 30 when the bad guys, the fists, they're the banditos. They're fighting. It comes their turn around. Their turn comes around, and a couple of the guys start shooting back at Bell's Hells, and Matt rolls a nat 1 on one of the carbines, the rifles.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh yeah, it misses, blah blah blah. And Taliesin's like, don't suppose a natural 1 does anything to that gun, does it? And then this little discussion. Matt says something really weird. He's like, why? You want me to do something to your hammer? And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I didn't get that.
yeah, it was a weird. I don't think Matt really caught it. There was this weird little thing, and then Taliesin was sort of like, well, because guns. I've got. He's like, I got PTSD because from all of campaign 1 as Percy. It's like all those. The gun would blow up in my face, and I'm like, okay, it's 30 years later. Maybe they've perfected, or they've made some advances on some Percy tech. Like maybe that that the now natural ones don't do anything. Maybe Matt just didn't want to do anything. Maybe there was like a little.
Maybe he forgot.
No, he forgot. Maybe he just didn't want to. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like I would say,
It's-
like,
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that because I sort of felt I'm like this is a chance for you to maybe explain. Yeah, you notice that a natural 1 doesn't make the gun blow up.
Yeah.
I mean,
could at least put
maybe-
that out there. Then be
Yeah.
like, interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Because I would think that in 30 years, Percival could probably figure out how to keep it from backfiring, or like in 30 years. That'd be definitely a place to research. That's the only problem with his weapons. So of course he would work on that. But
It's
I don't know. Could Ripley do it? Could
I
or
don't
she
know. It's
she
kind of a
dive?
thing. The gunslinger class across the board always jams on a 1 or a 2. It's just what happens.
Right.
And then if you try and fire it again without clearing it, and you roll, I think in Pathfinder, if you miss, it explodes. It's damaged and doesn't work. It's a harsh penalty, and I think that's. I was like, this is an interesting thing that Matt's done. We're saying that no, 1 doesn't do anything. It's worth revisiting, I think.
Even these days, a gun can jam.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
I wonder if he just didn't want to do it. That's what it sounds like. Kind of. Huh.
Just a little thing that's been sort of sticking in my gullet for a little while. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't feels wrong.
Yeah, I was just confused about his comment about the hammer after that.
Same. It
All right,
felt.
so
Yeah,
yes,
you go.
and
Go
then
ahead.
with. Geez, not a whole lot on this page right here. I feel like I understood this last episode quite well. So I don't have a whole lot of questions, but I still have some questions about the last one. For example, not from 29 necessarily, but clarification, I suppose. You, Safayed,
Mhm.
fuck,
Nil.
Euphegenia is her name. They had a deal or something. They're going to have a month to go do something,
30
right?
days if they 30 days to see if if their device works, and if it does work or doesn't work, they give the crown back in 30 days, regardless.
So
That's what
okay,
they
so
said.
I'm sorry. Where did they get the crown? I think I'm missing some stuff from back here.
That was given more detail in this episode. We got a little bit of information about Birdie talked about it a bit in 29 about saying how, oh no, we came across this device they were making, we stole the crown and we ran away, and then we decided that we needed to hook up with Ira, and he would explain what it could do, and Ira was creating this device and blah blah blah. Basically in this episode, that was the whole thing right at the very end, where Chetney was like, why are you building the same device
Yeah.
that the Unseelie Court was building as well? And then we get that whole thing like this, the Moontide Crown is the heart of this arcane telescope, where it can the veil, what's it called, what did Ira call it,
The veil lift or
the veil
something.
scatterscope.
There you go. Yeah.
It basically goes through all arcane protection as long as it's pointed right at it. It can scry, and it can pierce. Like if remember Caleb had that medallion that would protect him from the mind shielding or anti-scrying, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It basically can pierce that, because that's what it focuses the thing. Now that it's got that little green gem or the green piece of glass, the weave lens, now it can actually see the cage that surrounds Ruidus, and it can see I think it could see the ley lines. I forget.
Okay, so it was both of those things that they needed. So they needed the crown and this other green thing.
The
'Cause I got a little lost there.
The weave lens is with the green glass. It allows them to see the weave of magic around something, and that's how they were able to see the cage that is around around Ruidus. Because remember, they're looking at Ruidus, and then they're like, no, and then Ira goes, okay, just wait, and click, and he sinks down the lens into the scope, or he'd done that before, I forget. Either or. As soon as he put the lens in, then she can suddenly see, Laudna, I think it was, can suddenly see the weave of all magic that is around things.
Right. Whereas otherwise couldn't.
It's just a scope, yeah.
Now, question at that point is, how long has that thing been a prison? The whole time?
Probably since the calamity, or pre-calamity maybe, we don't know. It's sort of vague. Like we probably won't find out that lore for a while.
Yeah, because there was a time before Ruidus was there, right? So maybe it was there and it just immediately was a prison.
This goes, we didn't talk about this last episode, but that goes all, this is not mine. I got this from Reddit. This goes all the way back to campaign 2 when they were in Uthadurn. Remember when they were in Uthadurn and Bo went to talk to somebody at the library there? They got that, there was a thing where they got a teleport circle, and it was really a really expensive teleport circle that they got. You remember that?
Rings a bell.
Yep. And then they talked to a gnome, a emissary of the Cobalt Soul, who was just a researcher. He was a little gnome, and the whole conversation was about the moons. And he brings up in that episode in campaign 2, when they're in Earthadurn, about Ruidus not existing before at the same time
really?
as Catha. Yeah.
I think I just didn't care back then, because I'm like, oh, okay, that's just some shit. Yeah.
Totally. And I mean, I went back and I read through what the transcript was, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, he did. He talked about, Catha was always around before Ruidus, and the Ruidus appears, and well after Catha's already been around, and so people speculate about where Ruidus comes from, and if it was this and if it was that, and so Matt had these things in the works way back then, way back. And
so much that he knows that we don't,
He talks a bit about that in either the San Diego Comic-Con panel, or he talks about a Four-Sided Dive, I forget. About making stuff up and coming up with things on the fly, or having things planned out, or whatever.
Or having like a library of things that he's created that he just hasn't discussed yet.
Totally.
Just like, let's see, how can I make this work? All of this works.
Can't really talk about them too, because it's spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch Four-Sided Dive, like just about every question in Matt's mug, it's just like he's like, I can't answer this. I mean,
I know you all want to know,
and then you just move on. Like, of course we want to know, but like, just watch the movie, man. Like he'll tell you eventually.
Totally. Going back to what you just said about where the Moontide crown came from, it came from that device that the Unseelie Court was building, right? We don't know what that device was, because they didn't really know what it was. They're just like, yeah, they were building this device, and we took a shiny thing out of it, knowing that it wouldn't work if they did. That's all they heard. Do you remember who Ollie said was there? He said there was a bunch of the Unseelie Court, and then a couple of humans, and not humans, a couple of not Fae people.
Okay.
And he describes one of them as.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is at 3 hours 16 minutes.
Timestamp.
Oh yeah, this is a big one. So he says Odahan was there, and from
Odahan Thule. Right?
Odahan Thule was definitely there with the Unseelie Court, and that's a bit of a like, oh okay, and I mean that kind of makes sense, because Laudna's like, Imogen. Now I'm doing what Matt was doing the thing. Imogen is like, right, I'm seeing her in my visions on the moon, so this kind of makes sense that she's tied into all of these things. But here's one that the cast didn't pick up on. An older elven man, long white silver hair, dressed in gray and blues, carried a cane. Ring any bells from campaign 2? Who did the Mighty Nine have to deal with? Who was an older elven man, with long white silver hair, gray and blue robes. Ludinus Deleth.
Ludinus Deleth.
From the Cerberus Assembly.
From the Cerberus Assembly, right.
Garen fucking T. That's who. Got his little fingers in that pie, man. Like with Odahan, ooh boy, which is a fun one, because where is Caleb right now?
Right.
Are we gonna somewhere down the road get a little visit from Caleb, because he's partnered up with Ludinus, or is Caleb gonna come in and be like, guys, don't pursue this, because Ludinus Deleth is gonna come and get you if you do, or is there gonna be like a little bump bump bump? Who knows? I feel it.
Feel it in your bones.
Theories. They're all
So
I don't
did
know
you
any
did you
for sure.
did you pull a Tim and go back and look at him? Did you see anybody's reactions? Like look at
No, they
everybody's
didn't.
face when he
So
mentions the
this one kind of disappointed me. There's been so much lore, man, these past episodes that I think the cast is kind of numb
yeah,
because
a little
Matt
overflowed.
Matt name drops Morrigan multiple times, and the cast does not pick up on it at all.
Yeah,
We talked about this on the sofa. It's like when we were
yeah.
watching the episode, we're like, he's dropped Morrigan's name multiple times,
And
and
it's
the cast is just whoop, just over their head, no
fun to
reaction.
watch.
But
Is that beans being cooked?
oh, yeah, you hear that? Yeah,
Yeah,
they're going. That's awesome. This mic is picking that up. That's amazing.
yeah.
Um,
Something is.
that's a cool. The no, the wait till next week. Wait till next week when they get a chance to go back and read all of these things and sort of some of them are going to go back and I'm sure some of them are going to go and like, okay, he said that, he said that, he said this, he said that. Oh my God, it's Morrigan. Morrigan? Who is Morrigan? And then they're going to get like, who the hell is Morrigan? And they're going to go on there like, holy shit, that's an archfey or a Irish Celtic hag. Like they're gonna go back and do some research. And next week, mark my words, 31, they're going to be like, okay, now we have a better understanding of what Matt was doing, and though it'll all start coming out.
I I like watching Matt's face when he does things like that. You know, he like drops it and he just like sits there and like he's like scan through everybody's face on
Yep.
both sides of the
Yep.
table and like nothing.
Totally.
Fuck,
Nothing.
nothing. All right, I'll try it
Nothing.
again later.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when you picked up on it and then you let me know I was and then he
Yep.
said Morrigan, I was like I just looked at him and he was like
Yep. Oh yeah, he was totally looking around to see if
God
anybody
damn it.
caught them with the word.
Nobody picked it up.
I think he's used to it. I think he's used to that. He's like, I'll let it reverberate in your brains a little bit. I know Marisha's taking notes. I know a couple of the other ones might write down it. They're gonna come back with it next week. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I mean, I think it kind of has to at this point, or he's gonna leave it alone. You know, like
Maybe,
I mean,
and who knows?
when I'm I'm just assuming like from campaign 2 and Jester, talks to her mom and like her mom's like, I told you about Babanan,
Babanon.
Babanan,
Blah blah blah.
yeah, blah 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 blah, and and like it was
Babanon.
just Laura who didn't pick up on it. He's like,
Yeah.
I told you about him, the blue skin, water genasi,
Yeah.
and then she's like,
huh?
you did?
And
You're like,
and
yes, like
all
in
the
session
rest of
0,
them,
whatever.
yeah, and all the rest of them are staring at Laura, going, "Oh, right." Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it was a little tough for Laura at that point because she was having a baby when they met the general. No, she was not having a baby. She was sick for the episode where they met
Right.
the gentleman the first time. And so there was this description, and she couldn't deal with it, and blah blah blah. Yeah. Anyway,
And Babanan. Yep.
blah 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 blah. Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna roll again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Uh,
13. I got a 13. Oh, I got a fun one.
5.
Okay. This is at near the very, very, very end of the episode. A dude on chat was just made an offhand comment. So Laura sits on Imogen sits down in front of the veil scatter scope and is like, I don't want to biff this. I don't want to. I remember I sat down in front of the other one to look at the one in the Hellcatch Valley. Where were they? Up at that the Hamlet when they found that other telescope, and then she wants to look at the moon and she rolls like a 2, and so can't do it. And she's like, I don't want to biff this, and she rolls. And what does she roll? She rolls a natural 1.
Yep.
And it's like, right, again, so it's like it's not meant to be. A dude on chat, and I'm sure he's watching this, Durandal's Fate mentions that at level 5, sorcerers get magical guidance, where if they want to, they can spend a sorcery point and re-roll an ability check.
Huh.
Come on, Laura, pick it up. if you don't want to roll it's basically you'd spend a sorcerer feat and it's a luck roll. Like do it. Gotta look that up.
I wonder if
Although there is a caveat to that, it is in the player's book. It is an optional thing. So it says it's like magical guidance, optional. So maybe they've decided not to do that. I don't know.
Perhaps. Or I'd like to think that Matthew's sitting there just like, you know what? You have an ability. No?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Just
No,
letting her decide. Like,
no,
know your
or care.
character. Learn your roles. Know your character.
That's all. Just a small one. I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, if she did miss that, somebody needs to point that out to her. Be
Yeah.
like, you got magical guidance, man. Use it. Use it.
Yeah, like it's one of those things when you don't really have a. I mean, we had a Talks Machina, you know. I'd have a lot more information, I think, you
Yeah.
know.
Also pre-recorded episodes, so who knows how many episodes they did in a row, and maybe that it's like you don't have time to go back and look at it. One of the drawbacks of doing these not live, doing these pre-recorded, not week after week or day after day, likely.
It's a weird time thing, you know, like when you watch the four-sided dive and then like Matthew at one point says, at the time this airs, then we would have yeah, you would have seen that. So he,
Right.
answers accordingly. Like
Yes.
it's
Yep.
we got like three
It's
time frames going here. Like there's
right.
this,
Right.
there's that, and then there's
I
the game.
have no problem with the way they're doing it, that they're pre-recording them. I think it's smart as fuck. I think it's really, really clever. I think doing them live does them a disservice, but there are drawbacks. It's like you do run into these little problems, but I think it's smarter doing it this way.
Yeah, I don't see as big problems really. Like when you've got chat going nuts, and it's like, guys, they can't see you. It's like yelling at the TV during a fucking movie or something. Like,
We're binging The Wire on Netflix right now, and you start
yeah,
screaming, "Look out! Omar coming! Get out of the way!" And you're like, "What are you doing?
yeah,
Why are you
Wallace,
yelling at?"
don't go back, don't go back, Wallace. Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna change.
Yep.
Not gonna
Yep.
change the third time through.
Mhm.
I don't have much more after this.
I got a couple more little things to say that I think are cute.
All right, we can drain those out, and then we're already at 45 minutes. We're all right.
Yep.
So they're already at the end, pretty close to the end of what they needed to do, right? To like
Mhm.
go back and like I don't really remember what their deal was with, because I don't believe anything that Eugenaya Doubtfire said.
I forgot about this too, but do you remember what they were supposed to be doing in the city? They're supposed to be getting Tresci.
Right.
Jesus. They're supposed to be going. They did the whole Death Wish run so they could get into the Paragon's Call so that they could actually go. They're supposed to be doing a whole ton of other stuff. Like I think this little side trip to meet the Nightmare King and get to the Callaway layaway has sort of sidetracked them. Hopefully next episode they come back and they're like, we have to go back to the Paragon's Call. We're supposed to be there tonight
Right.
and doing stuff. So things are going to get weird real quick. If they don't show up there, they might lose some opportunities. I hope so. I hope that they're like, Matt's like, oh, you guys gonna spend the night there? Okay. They spend the night. They wake up the next morning. They get back, and the gates are barred for Paragon's Call. They're like, "No, you lost your chance, man. You don't get to come in here now." Like, oh fuck, we're back to square one again. That
That's
would
the
be
thing.
fun.
That's how this weird time vortex thing is going on. Because like when we see it, then people
Yep.
might come out and be like, you guys are supposed to do this, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck, but we already recorded the next episode. Shit.
Yep.
Like we don't get to hear
Yep.
this stuff. We don't get to actually check chat ourselves, or They're like
Right.
they're gonna do two
Right.
more episodes before they actually go back and
knows?
fix what they're supposed to do.
Probably. But meanwhile, Matt's going. Y'all are doing okay. Cool. Don't take away. Don't. Matt's big on not taking away player agency, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So like if he's just like, what do you guys want to do? Okay, you're gonna do that. All right. Remember, this is not. This is things are happening. Events are unfolding. I got a funny little one. If I can throw a thing out there.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah,
But
I just
at the
remembered one
very
more point.
at the very. Oh, go ahead then.
Oh no. Next one.
Okay. Look, I don't have a lot more too, but I did notice something really, really, really fun at the very end of the episode when Liam rolls his nat 20 to
Right.
to look at the moon, Arudis. He rolled a tiny little red die. He's like, I rolled the nat 20 on the Ruidus die,
Oh.
and I suddenly realized he's got two d20s, a giant big white one and a tiny little red one. he's got a Katha dice and a Ruidus dice, which are those are the tattoos. Big Moon, Little Moon.
Yeah.
I was suddenly like, holy, whoa, that is adorable. That's so adorable. I don't know. I never noticed it before. I suddenly realized, like, oh, Katha Moon and Ruidus Moon. Those are his 2d20s because he rolls everything with advantage, right? Basically, he gets to roll all perception checks with advantage and all like the nonsense.
Rolling a couple of moons.
Yeah, he's rolling a couple of moons like that. I don't know. That just struck me as super, super adorable.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, that's all. I never noticed that before, and I thought it was super cute. What do you got?
This is about the time in the program where we just say the tiny little things that we like about the show.
Yeah.
Wait, is that me now?
Go ahead.
Or was that how did that work? I got a 5.
Yeah.
Is it time to roll again? I think it's one more roll.
Sure.
Okay. Lost track.
I may have jumped and one there.
Got me another 5.
I got an 18. I saw something interesting.
Remember when I used to win rollies?
Oh, well, not tonight, motherfucker. There was, okay, where is it? It's a, I wrote it down because I thought it was really cute. There it is. At 2 hours, 53 minutes, and 23 seconds, we saw Ashley jump. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember? That whole thing when somebody touched. So when I watched this, I was like, why did she, because she took a can off the table and put it down. And I realized that so this was after the break. Yep, this was at the break, after the break, when they came back. She put a can on the table, and the post-production team blurred it. The can was censored.
Okay.
It was pixelated. And at some point, I wrote it down, at like a minute, so at 2:53:23, she jumps, but at 2:52:22, so 1 minute 1 second, she picks up the can and puts it under the table, because I think somebody said, "Hey, finally get that censored, get the can of Coca-Cola,
get that brand name off of there, yeah,
or Jolt Cola or whatever. Who knows what I don't know what Dr. Pepper. Who knows what she's drinking? Get that off the table." And then when they try to give her a mug to put into it, she does the little jump thing. I thought that was kind of cute. I'm like, right, you basically scared yourself because you knew that it was coming,
yeah,
but still got the scare. On brand.
Her reaction, like, they're creatures.
Yeah, I thought it was a creature touching me. That's so good.
So the words she could have used could have been a critter, could have been a monster. There are creatures roaming around the studio, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my last thing I've got here for this is that comparing like the first campaign and the second campaign, where it just seemed like, at least in the first campaign, I didn't know shit about D&D. Everything I know about D&D I've learned from this show and basically you now. So I watched the first campaign just like, yeah, whatever they do, that's how it works. Watching back through it like that third time, I'm like, God damn, they're breaking a lot of rules, you know? Like, there's no material components to your spells. What are you doing? Like, you don't use diamonds when you bring someone back?
Yeah, that carried over into campaign 2 when Ford started casting high-level warlock spells, and that's like, do you have a vial of blood?
Yeah.
Do you have an eyeball, a fresh eyeball in a jar? Do you have it? Wait, what? And Liam's like, yeah, man. I can't. What do you think Caleb's been doing this whole time? So
I mean,
yeah.
Like, you think it's just flavor? That's what Caleb's doing the whole time? It's like, no, dude. It says right there, M, and it tells you right next to it. Apparently. And then campaign 2, it was the whole thing was like trying to figure out everybody's backstory, you know? Like when it finally came up and it was like, oh, wow, you know? And then here in campaign 3, it feels more like, here's all the information. That's not going to be the thing here. Like, we're not going to withhold anything. We're just going to give you all the information and get this story going, you know? Because I feel like Matt's got some plans here.
Yeah, well, we talked about this last week, the episode that didn't air.
That we mimed instead of,
My whole big theory on that is that he's going to pull a Forgotten Realms.
Pull a
that
what?
he's going to pull a Forgotten Realms,
Oh, right.
which is the Faerun. The creators of the, which is basically, I think I said this last week, all of D&D, not loosely, all of D&D is based on Faerun, which is the Forgotten Realms series, the world that Forgotten Realms. And the writers, all of them to a T, were just all decided like, yeah, we're going to blow it up. So they literally, the gods blew up Faerun. They obliterated it, and they did. There's all kinds of stories that came out of that. I have a sneaky suspicion Matt's going to do the same thing. Matt's going to be like, yeah, I've had enough of Exandria. Or what was the other idea that I had was that maybe just that he's going to collide the Fey realm, Feywild, and overlap it on top of, with maybe the Shadow Realm too, overlap it on top of Exandria, and so that that the gods that are imprisoned in Ruidus are going to escape, and they're going to obliterate the Feywild, and everybody in the Feywild has to flee, and ends up on Exandria, and who knows what happens.
All hell breaks loose. I mean,
Madness. I mean, we talked a bit about this at the table on Sunday when we were playing D&D, where it feels like Critical Role is sort of a sounding board for these new WotC stuff that comes out with, you know, when they were doing the Icewind Dale release of the Rime of the Frost Maiden, or whatever it's called, that the Mighty Nine went up to the far north. They went up to Islecross, so they could showcase a bunch of the stuff. And right now, they're and then there's other examples of it as well. The Path of the Netherdeep and Tasha's and Mordekainen's. And as these books get released, the Critical Role is like showcasing them. Spelljammer is being released very soon, and so it's like, right, Spelljammer is all about, you know, going to other planets, and it's all about getting onto airships that can travel through space, and they're going to the moon. They're like, definitely that's what's going to happen.
they have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured they'd teleport at some point, but I mean, a Spelljammer's going to bring up some kind of fucking machine or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read much through Spelljammer. But I know the history of Spelljammer, but apparently this is a very much revised version of it. So it's basically space D&D. D&D in space is what Spelljammer is. So that's the history of it. I don't know what they're doing for the new version, but we'll see.
Yeah, with the as far as traveling to this moon, I mean, they don't even really have a motive right now, you know, other than curiosity.
Yeah, well, Imogen is a pretty big, like, what is.
She would like to dive in, you know, but she would need this loyalty behind her and be like, I guess we'll go with you, you know. I mean, they don't really know each other that well. I mean, Laden would definitely go, but
it's that whole trope, right? It's like, we've only been traveling together for a couple months. We're now best friends. Like, I'll throw myself in front of a bullet for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, when you battle together, you get closer faster, right?
Yes, I guess. Sure.
Like people I wouldn't normally hang out with, like in college, but then we went through fucking quantum mechanics together, and like it was a war. And then we became friends, you know. Otherwise, we wouldn't hang out. Yeah, but like to go to the moon, like you don't know if it's an oxygen-rich atmosphere. I mean, I don't know if that's something that people think about, because like when I think space travel, that's what I think about. You know, like clearly if there's a city, then there's got to be, you know, some kind of
in a
controlled
setting,
atmosphere.
In a setting with magic, physics don't apply.
Right. Yeah. Unless when they do.
Well, yeah, when they do, they do. When they don't,
falling damage, escape velocity. I mean, you know, like what's gonna happen here? Yeah. So it'll be a little.
Newtonian, Einsteinian physics and stuff doesn't really apply that much.
No, and you can kludge it if you need to. Yeah.
And if you get bogged down with those details, you're not having fun anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can think about it as much as you want, and I will. But yeah. So yeah, my fears are allayed. Is that the right word? Where like I was like, I wonder if Matt's just crawling through the story because he's not really quite sure. And I'm like, no, of course, I should never have felt that way. I have a
sneaky feeling he's gonna blow a lot of shit up.
Yeah, and I think either we talked about it when we were miming it last week, or we just talked in person about it. In the first campaign, he built Iman and just destroyed it, you know. And it's like,
with the Chroma Conclave,
he was asked in talks, like, how does it feel to destroy something that you created so impeccably, you know? And he's like, it was big, but I wanted to do something big, you know, like Fight Club. Like I wanted to just, you know, destroy something beautiful.
Yeah. I think
Then
I don't know, man. I have a sneaky feeling he's gonna blow shit up.
me too.
And
I think it's gonna
I'm
do
here
something
for it.
huge.
I'm all here for it. If the moon crashes into Exandria, awesome.
I'm all
I'd love
for
to
it.
see
Totally.
something cataclysmic happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's already done the calamity. Maybe that was just some
If
foreshadowing, you know?
oh
And I'm gonna
yeah,
stay
sure.
off the Reddits. I'm thinking about unsubscribing so I don't see even titles of these things.
Hmm.
So I'll see like, oh, I've got a theory about Ashton, you know, and be like, I don't want to know. I don't want to see it. Like, also don't put that in the title. I'm gonna unsubscribe. I'm fucking banned anyway. I can't even
Yeah.
post.
Oh well, hey, listen, man, I'm done. I'm good. I got a bunch more things, but they're just comments.
Yeah.
I really want to know more about FCG's homebrew class because that whole thing about him getting the temporary hit points is still confusing to me. I hope we get some clarification for it.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's one of the things that's been sticking in my craw a little bit.
You,
I got
you
a
think they
little.
would release stats and shit like that, like in the middle
Nah,
of a campaign, or do you think we
nah.
have to wait till it's over and then they'll be like, all right, here's his character?
Maybe, or maybe not at all. I don't know. I think there's a lot of backstory with that automaton that I don't think they want to release anything yet.
Hmm.
I think that it's pretty important what with FCG's history. Where did he come from?
Yeah.
Like where clearly Dancer didn't create him, so where did he come from? I think that's going to be integral in the final
Yeah, I
final
mean,
stuff.
if he's definitely Aorian, you know, then he was fucking
Mm,
made.
if he is, if
If he
who
is,
knows?
yeah, right up there with
Which
Devexian,
brings in a lot of
perhaps.
which brings in a lot of the canon stuff about them building a god killing weapon was FCG part of that? Is that going to become a reveal when they do confront a god that's behind that divine cage? I
He
don't
could have
know.
been ammunition. Blast him
Yeah.
in there, and then he does work.
Brilliant. Oh, I love that. That'd be so cool.
Living live ammunition, a whole new
A whole new, yeah.
definition of live ammunition.
Hmm.
Fuck, I
Anyway,
hope I didn't just
man.
spoil that for myself.
Ooh, fun. There, look at you getting theories. I
God, I
like
don't
it.
want to do it. I'm out. No theories for me.
All
Ammunition.
right.
Yeah, I'm done. You're done.
I'm good.
Nothing
I'm
else. All
good.
right, cool. I thought there was something to announce. No, there's
I'm
not, is
excited.
there?
I'm excited for 31 because listen, we got the giant cliffhanger about there's a city on the moon. Like
Oh yeah, there's a city on the moon. He
that
ended it
was a big,
right there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, awesome. Can't wait.
yeah.
I want to see what they do. I mean, I know what they're gonna do.
Well, they
31.
got to go back with Armand Tresci. They got to
They're gonna have to
do
figure that
something with
stuff.
Euphegenia Doubtfire.
Well, it's got like 30 days for that. That's not a pressing thing anymore. I think what's more pressing is they're gonna forget that they're supposed to go to the Paragon's Call.
I mean, they
First.
brought it up. They're like, you don't want to have bad juju with Paragon's Call, do you? They said that to the guys on the
Yeah, but
machine.
so maybe they're thinking about it, but I don't think they're really thinking about it. I think
It's at
they're.
least not absent. It's around a little bit. I don't know. All right. Well, hey, nothing else. Y'all get in touch. This time we're not miming, and actually this one will get on YouTube.
Hope so.
All the information down there. Best way to just comment.
Yeah.
Subscribe, and all
If
that
we
shit.
if we're completely out to lunch or we made a bunch of mistakes, hey, shout at us. We love
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Let's have a talk right down there. All right, cool. And if there's nothing else,
I'm good.
then all right. Y'all don't forget to love each other. And is it finally Friday? Peace. Take care, Ben.
You too, bro.